Morning, guys. It's just gone 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sitting here in a mighty Mitsubishi. Nothing could frighten a Triton Ute, except for a hill. I've got the Territory on a trailer. Got the trailer hooked up to the Ute. I've got my day planned out, but I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing today because things don't always go to plan. So I'll just film at each destination I arrive at to tell you what time it is and what I'm doing there. And I suppose you could guess what one of the destinations are. Seeing I got the Territory on the trailer. Look, I'm just gonna head off, and I don't even know if I'm gonna upload this video because it might not be worthwhile uploading, but who knows. At the end of the day, if I think it's worthwhile uploading, I will. If I do, I'll probably call it a not so typical day in the life of Captain Stowe, because, you know, I'm normally not in the Ute at 3 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, I better head off because I want to be my first destination by 8 o'clock, or preferably before 8 o'clock. So I'll talk to you guys later. All right, guys. Catch us later. All right, guys. Here I am at the GPC GPD. Got here just after 8. Would have liked to have been here a little bit earlier, but it's pretty foggy, and some areas are so bad I only could not drive faster than 60 k's. It's too dangerous, especially, you know, throw kangaroos into the mix. And you can't see where you're going. It's, yeah, recipe for disaster. So anyway, I got here about 8 o'clock, just after 8. Cars, let me flip this around. Cars unloaded. There's the trailer. Here we go. Probably can't see anything. Might be a good competition for me. What do you reckon, guys? Should I call them out? Anyway, I'm gonna put my car on the hoist in a sec, and then get stuck into it. Anyway, like I said before, I don't even know if I'll put this video up because it's just gonna be a mix match for everything. But anyway, guys, I'll when I pull the tranny out, I'll start videoing again. All right, bye. And that's where I stopped the video. Hi everyone. I did continue to record as I walked into GPC because there are quite a few awesome cars in there that I would have loved to have shown you. But yes, some people don't like their reg numbers reg plates to be displayed on the videos. So I decided to just cut the video right there. I might be able to do some, I don't know, shorts out of the remaining bit of the video, because like I said, there are quite a few nice cars in there. I might be able to edit the rest of that film into shorts, and that was also the last film I did that day, because like I said at the start of the video, when I was in my Ute, things don't always go to plan. So once I arrived there at GPC, I put my car on the hoist and put up on the hoist. Brett wasn't able to start on it straight away because he had a Corvette in there that needed to be diagnosed and rectified that morning, first thing that morning, and didn't take them long to find out what was wrong with it. They had a misfire, and they found it was one of the cylinders was misfiring, so they quickly determined it was a spark plug, so they just put new spark plugs in it, which on a late model Corvette is probably not the easiest job to do. You have to remove quite a few things, like in most cars nowadays, just to get to something. But anyway, they had that done anyway. While Brett was doing that, I put the car up on the hoist, took the X brace out from underneath, and drained the fluid out of the transmission, and while that was drained, I went and had a coffee upstairs, and then came back down, put the plug in it, and by that time Brett was finished with the vet, and he came to help me. And by the time I had the tail shaft out, he had already just about got the transmission out. So thanks for that, Brett. And actually, I wrote a few notes here, so I'm trying to keep this video short because it's not much to tell you and not much to show you. The next video will be more interesting, I promise you that. But yeah, so anyway, today is now the 25th of June, or Wednesday. It's chilly 13 degrees here in the shed. Thanks to Kip from ATP to provide me with this heat shield on my head. Keeps me a bit warm. And he also obviously makes great turbos. But I've made a few notes here to keep this video short, so I'll just explain to you what happened that day. As I said, that was on a Wednesday, the 11th, 2 weeks ago. The reason this video is taking so long is, anyway, it's a long story. But I was sick the past week as well. That didn't help. So I'm normally never sick, but man, when I do get sick, I'm laid up in bed for a day or two, and I absolutely hate that. You know, I hate spending my day in bed, especially if it's nice weather. I want to go out and do things. But anyway, I've made a few notes, like I said, to keep things moving along, because I have a tendency to ramble on. So that particular day, it was probably close to midday by the time the transmission was in the back of my mighty Mitsubishi. Nothing could frighten the Triton Ute except for hills. And I was planning to go to Penrite in Dandenong because I had to pick up my oil that I ordered. However, the local sales rep or area manager for Geelong from Penrite saw my order coming in, and they were kind enough to organize for that oil to be delivered to GPC. So I thought, great, that's a huge time saver. So I didn't have to go to Dandenong to pick up the oil at Penrite. So thank you for that. So I went straight to DSR Performance in Carrum Downs to take the transmission just for a health check. And that particular day, as you recall, in Melbourne, there was a metal plate got lifted off the road and caused quite a bit of damage to several cars, the wheels and tires, and I actually flipped the truck onto its side. So, you know, typical Melbourne, stuck in traffic for I don't know how long. Man, why would you want to live or work in Melbourne or the surrounding suburbs is beyond me, but you can have that shit. Anyway, I finally made it to DSR Performance in Carrum Downs approximately 4:30. So, like I said, I left probably around midday at Geelong Performance Centre. Oh, no, sorry, it was 1 o'clock. It was closer to 1 o'clock. But still, three and a half hours just to get from Geelong to Carrum Downs. But anyway, I finally got there, had a quick chat with Stuart, and left my transmission there, as I said, just for a health check. And on the way home, again, that time of day, stuck in peak hour traffic. Don't you just love that? And of course, made 2 stops, one for fuel for the car and one for fuel for the wife and me. Get something to eat, and I believe we got home at 1:30 the next morning. So from 3 a.m. or just after 3 a.m. the previous day to 1:30 a.m. the following day. So yeah, it was a long day. So the next day I wasn't very active, let's put it that way, the next day. But anyway, so that was that. Then a few days later, I received a call from Stuart saying that the transmission, they pulled it apart and it looked like new still inside. All the mechanical components all look like new again. So it's just a testament to to the know-how and the products that they used to build these transmission. When they built that transmission for me, you know, I only was making 510, 590 kilowatts, something like that in that range, somewhere in the 500 kilowatt range when they built that transmission for me. And I was actually thinking maybe upgrading it with strong internals, but when he pulled it apart, like I said, it still looked like new everything. So again, a testament to the workmanship and the quality components that they use and the know-how. But so that was the good news. The bad news is that doesn't explain why it plays up occasionally, especially when after a couple of runs when it gets a bit warmer. So Stewart's recommend to change the mechatronics, what's TCM, transmission control module. You had to replace the mechatronics. However, I wasn't in the financial, even though they made a very attractive offer to do that for me while they had the transmission there. At the moment, I'm not in a financial position to do that because I've had a pretty expensive last few months. So I said, look, just put it back together, and I'm not going to be racing it anymore this year. I'll just drive it around, every weekend or every other weekend like I normally do, just cruise around. And I'm not going to, look for any races, so I'm not going to accept any call-outs. I'm not going to call out anybody, and I'm just going to take it easy with the car until the Geelong Revival. Hopefully it behaves itself for the Geelong Revival. And then after that, I might, pull the transmission out again and see what, maybe replace the mechatronics unit and whatever else, maybe upgrade it a bit more, I don't know. But anyway, that'll be next year's project. But for now, let's see, I'm just checking my notes. Like I said, I don't want to ramble on. So then the following week, I think it was a Thursday, I left at 3 a.m. on a dot here where I live. And according to my GPS, I should have arrived at DSR Performance in Carrum Downs at 8 o'clock on a dot. However, of course, traffic. So by the time I got there, it was 8:45. So yeah, 45 minutes longer than what initially should have been. But anyway, like I had a chat with Stuart again, and Dave. Man, those guys are terrific. They make you feel like you're their only customer. They got plenty of time to talk to you and explain things to you. And I cannot recommend them highly enough, especially for ZF transmissions. They know what they're doing, those guys. So anyway, load up the transmission back into the mighty Mitsubishi. Nothing can frighten a Triton Ute except for hills. And back to Geelong Performance Center. Dropped the transmission off at GPC and headed off home because I didn't want it to be another long day like previously. And at least I got home around 8:30, 9:30, something like that evening. So that wasn't too bad. That's doable, especially if you start 3 o'clock in the morning. So that wasn't too bad. So that was cool. Anyway, so next week I'll be going back to GPC because I've got some more modifications or updates to inform you guys about. I might as well tell you a little bit now about it. I was contemplating going, because as you all know, earlier this year we installed the two-step because we want to try to get the 60-foot times down. 60-foot times, 30-foot times, but in particular 60-foot times. However, there's a fine line between trying to get your best 60-foot times and breaking your drive line in the territory. So there's a fine line there to, and you don't want to go over that line because I can't afford to be replacing drive shafts and whatever else, unis. So anyway, however, so I was thinking of going to an E-gate because, as you know, like I said, we put a two-step in it. However, we're having issues controlling the boost with the way it is. And like I said, I was contemplating going E-Gate. However, when I looked at the prices, I thought, man, you know, that's a lot of money. And I don't really want to spend any more money on the car because I'm happy with the way it performs, the way it is, to be honest. You know, if I could get that transmission to behave, to shift when I tell it to shift, you know, that car runs high nines all day, every day, and I'm happy with that. You know, it's a street car. You know, it's not a drag car. It's a street car, and as long as I'm the quickest at Geelong Revival, I'm happy. So I don't really need to go any quicker. However, we haven't utilized what I've got. There's still room for improvement with what I have. So what they're doing now, as we speak this week, they're putting on a what's it called? A 3-port MAC valve, along with 2 MAP sensors, one in the intake after the intercooler and one in the underneath the inlet manifold. And I've also brought my wastegate springs that I had left over from the TurboSmart when I bought the TurboSmart wastegate, and we're going to try to do it so it will hold its. We won't have boost creep. We just hold the boost on launch, but we don't want to also lose boost at the top end because once the thing gets going, it flies. So it'll be going on a dyno, and I hope to be there to film it. So might hopefully make a bit of an interesting video for you guys next week when the car's on a dyno, and I'll get Jared to explain to you how what they've done and why they've done it, and yeah, hopefully it works. So I'm just checking my notes here. That's all the news I have at this stage. Like I said, the next video should be a bit more exciting, be able to see what if it'll be a success or not, these additions to it. Hopefully it is. And if I've forgotten anything, well, you will know because I don't know. All right, guys. Hopefully the next video will be more interesting. I'll catch you then. All right, take care. Bye-bye.